Thank you everyone for joining, and I'm sure in the CI Hype platform we have many more attendees. So in this platform on the WebEx, we have roughly 16 participants, mainly the ICMA GC members, as well as the Honorable Minister. So the sequence of the events would be with I will just deliver a short welcome address, followed by the theme address from our President of ICMA, Mr. Sandeep Singh, and followed by the address by our chief guest and Honorable Minister of State for Road Transport and Highways, General Dr. VK Singh. Then we have some time for interaction where we'll take some questions, followed by a vote of thanks. So first and foremost, let me welcome the Honorable Minister for accepting the invite from ICMA to grace this occasion. It is the first large-scale annual session that we have organized. I also welcome my colleagues from ICMA, our President, Mr. Sandeep Singh, Mr. D.K. Vyas, convener of the conference panel, the past presidents of ICMA, Mr. Arvind Garg of L&T, Mr. Anand Sundareshan of Aman, and Mr. Vikram Sharma of Kobelco. And I also welcome all GC members who are a part of this session, all our co-conveners and co-conveners, all the different panels of ICMA, as well as our panelists and speakers of the session during the day. I also welcome all our partners and sponsors, ARAI, Off-Highway Research, Indian Infrastructure Equipment Sector Council, and our knowledge partner, BCG. I also welcome our sponsors and all the delegates who have joined from around the country. It gives me great pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of ICMA, Indian Construction Equipment Manufacturers Association, and to say how privileged we are to all distinguished guests for having accepted our invitation to convene these AGM proceedings in a format that we would not have imagined 6 months ago, which is virtually. We all really wanted to have it as a grand marquee event, but with the impact of COVID, we have had to change the format and we have come to a virtual session. As the construction equipment industry, and indeed the nation stands at an inflection point, it is an opportune time to renew our vigor and commitment to building India's tomorrow. Building India's tomorrow is also the theme of our AGM. We have a curated mix of sessions where government and industry leaders come together and deliberate on very critical aspects of business and the country. It is great to note that the agenda of today's sessions cover a wide range of relevant topics, and we hope that all of us are able to take away some key insights that nudge us towards a more resilient and vibrant India. A lot is known about how the CE industry has been stuck by the COVID-19 pandemic, as many infrastructure projects, construction activities slow down. However, since the last 1 or 2 months, we are now seeing green shoots of recovery, thanks to the efforts being undertaken by the Government of India and all the different state governments. We hope that these efforts continue and the construction equipment industry bounces back to create more infrastructure and a faster infrastructure, and that the sessions today light up the path to be undertaken by all stakeholders. With this, I would like once again welcome all delegates and participants and wish the event a great success. I would now request our President of ICMA and also the MD of Tata Hitachi Construction Machinery Company Limited, Mr. Sandeep Singh, to deliver the theme address.
Thank you, Dimitrov. Thanks a lot. I extend a very warm welcome to General VK Singh, Honorable Minister of State for Road Transport and Highways, for joining us this morning. Thank you, sir. On an earlier occasion, also we had an honor of his presence in a panel discussion, and it is always a pleasure to have him with us. As DK mentioned, and we are all aware that COVID-19 pandemic has impacted economic growth of our country severely. India, the fastest growing emerging economy in the world, witnessed a negative GDP, 23.9% in the first quarter due to this pandemic. Our government has come out with many initiatives to spur the demand and economy, which has started bringing results. As my friend mentioned, that in the last few months, we have seen some positive growth in the industry. Our conference today, the theme of the conference is Building India Tomorrow, is therefore very relevant and critical, especially in the current situation where we are going to deliberate all these issues. The Indian construction equipment industry, with a turnover of $6.5 billion, employs more than 3 million people directly and indirectly. Just for the sake of the knowledge of everyone, that most of the multinational companies have their manufacturing unit in India, manufacturing construction equipment industry. This is a rare industry where 90% of the equipment sold are made in India, and where the localization of the product is more than 50%. So therefore, we follow Atmanirbhar truly true to its sense. And we are also, as in the last few panel discussions with the government, we have always assured that we are going to bring in more advanced technology and more localization in our country so that we can generate more employment and bring in more advanced technology to our country. Since 1920, the Indian construction equipment industry has been experiencing a period of prolonged slowdown because of economic slowdown and financial liquidity. This has now been further aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic this year. Infrastructure, the growth engine of India, is the key to revive the economy of our country. Increased investment in infrastructure will not only revive growth and create demand, but will also help in generating employment. The CE industry, what we call to construction equipment industry, and all its stakeholders are vendors in the MSME sector, dealers who sell and support our equipment, depend critically on the growth of business. We hope the government will continue to support us as they have always been doing in the past. As I mentioned, ICMA annual session will focus on some of the key enablers today. Number one, creating a vibrant CE ecosystem by focusing on increased local manufacturing and development of competitiveness. Skill enhancement initiatives, working on creating a robust financing model that will power the growth of our industry. The Indian CE sector has potential to become the manufacturing and export hub of the world, provided the right policy support and economic growth is provided. We have seen that our current government has come out with very many initiatives to encourage industry to produce equipment and products in India. And I'm sure the way we are working on bringing in advanced technology will provide us more opportunities to export our equipment to other parts of the world. Just to mention here, most of the industries have started exporting equipment for the last 5 to 6 years to many parts of the world. But I'm sure going forward, we are going to export more and more in other parts of the world. The CE industry is an enabler of infrastructure development, and we see government support by way of increased infrastructure spending and a conducive policy environment. We are sure that the government will continue to support us the way they have been in the past to spur the demand of infrastructure and the construction equipment in our country. I once again thank everyone participating in this ICMA annual session. I would also like to thank all our past president, members, and all the participants who are participating in this event today. With this, I would now like to invite General V.K. Singh, our Honorable Minister for State, Transport and Highway, for his inaugural address. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All who are present here, especially the Petro Krishnan, all the past presidents of the ICMA, all who have come for this very important panel discussion that is being organized by ICMA, and all those who are plugged in to look at all the discussions that are taking place. My best wishes to each one of you for this great event that you all are organizing. Having said this, let me also say that COVID has brought new things. It has shut down a lot of things. It has impacted economy. It has impacted labor. And it is not that it is only India which has been affected. Whole world has been affected. And things but so is the infection, which is growing by leaps and bounds. My feeling is that things will only come to a stop when all of us get infected, either naturally or by a vaccine. And then only the antibodies will be so made that we'll be able to ensure that nobody falls due to COVID. And this is likely to take time, and we need to factor this in whatever we plan. It was very heartening the other day when in a FICCI meet, I heard the L&T saying that their workforce in the infrastructure sector is back to pre-COVID levels. I think that's a very happy sign, and I'm quite sure large number of people who are working for infrastructure would probably say the same thing. Economy and infrastructure are greatly interlinked. You look back at the Great Depression of the US that ensured that things became all right. Large road building, large scale port building, because that spurs growth in many fields, whether it is the field of ICMA, whether it is the field of material providing and handling people, whether it is the workforce that comes to construct the infrastructure, and a lot of people get involved with the bigger contractors who are working on the project, and this also increases the liquidity in the market, which adds to the type of growth that you are looking for. So infrastructure is very intricately linked with economy, and my feeling has always been that it is this sector of infrastructure which is going to be a very significant mover in terms of the economy and the economic growth. Because everybody is saying today we are down by so much, it can all pick up. It's just a question of us putting our heads together and ensuring that things start moving all over again. The fears get removed. In any case, if you go to the countryside, you find there's no fear. They still feel that nothing much is happening. We need to capitalize on this. We need to ensure that what we do brings the people to us who work, and we are able to take care of them in a manner in which the sickness and infection is taken under control. Because we don't want the things to slip backwards. So this is something which the industry has to keep in mind. Today, we are looking at a goal of 5 trillion economy. There are a lot of naysayers, there are a lot of people who doubt. I always feel that people who are positive, people who are proactive, people who think big will achieve the targets that are laid down. If you do not think that you will be able to reach the moon, you won't be able to reach the ceiling. That drive has to come from within us. And I think it is this drive which will ensure that we can go to 5 trillion or even more. Now, it requires thought in terms of what exactly we are doing. Let's take our road infrastructure sector. Today, we are on 30 to 32 kilometer per day. We have moved from single digit. We are looking at reaching 60. How will this be achieved? You have a very important role in this, because more the mechanical means, more better the equipment meeting all types of requirement in the road sector, you will find the road growth will be faster. Then we are also looking at how do we cut down the cost of road building. I mean, if the costs are going to remain the same as it used to be in the older technological times, then I think we will not reach anywhere. Because if the cost is not brought down, the burden of making a road will look like a very heavy burden. So we need to cut the cost, and we need to use technology to ensure that building is faster, it is better, and we are able to utilize material handling, we are able to utilize mechanical means, we are able to ensure that things can really move at a much faster pace. Technology and cost cutting are very important ingredients in philosophy of the Ministry of Road, Highways and Transport today. We feel that mindsets need to change. In fact, for a person like me, when I came in, I found that we were in a catch-22 situation. Why I say catch-22? A DPR is made. People who make DPRs are actually people who have been educated in older technologies, older methodologies. By the time they produce a DPR, a long time has gone. Then the DPR is examined, and after that, that DPR becomes a cage. The contractor cannot go beyond the DPR. Even if you write, you use different technology. His supervisors cannot go beyond the DPR because they feel that if they violate the DPR, they'll be under some sort of a scanner. And this DPR, which probably has not been made with modern technology, modern means, modern thinking, and the type of things that are prevailing today, becomes a baggage around your neck. And we produce what probably we were producing 20 years back. I think a time has come to get out of this mindset. A time has come for all of us to innovate. And I was very happy to hear, Sandeep ji, that you are 90% of equipment is being made in India. I'm sure you will make in India, and you will innovate on that equipment, because there are certain needs of ours which may be different. So what is it that we can do? I'll give you an example. Let's take China. Today, everybody, you know, large number of equipment is made out there. People go out there because the things are cheaper. You had a drilling machine earlier, then you had a double bore drilling machine. They have made a full face drilling machine. I'm sure we can do it. That kind of R&D, that kind of innovativeness, that kind of thinking must come into the industry, because otherwise it's like what I heard, the DCM Toyota thing, when it was coming up, their merger was taking place, and the Toyota people were in Ropar looking at what they should do. One of them said a very interesting thing. They said, this country is great. They haven't even changed a door handle for the last 30 years. If that is the philosophy we work on, then we will not get anywhere. I think a certain amount of your capital must get involved in your local R&D to make things better. And I am a great believer that Indians have a mind of their own and they're great innovators. Good old days, everybody used to say that you give something in Ludhiana and they'll replicate the thing even better. And I've had experience, not just Ludhiana, I'm talking of various places. And I'll give you this example. We used to utilize medium machine guns, which were Belgian in origin. And Mag 58 was a machine gun. And I was teaching students. I was now as a faculty member. When we used to put them through firing practices, there's a high volume of fire. And after 2 days, we used to have a fire spin breaking with that high volume of fire. Fire breaking meant it had to get imported, and there was a time lag. So one day, I sent a person to Indore. I said, why don't you go and talk to some local chap? He went out there. There was some local lathe shop, and he looked at it. He said, "Hum bana denge." So he was told, this is the use for this. He said, sir, don't worry. And mind you, that lathe shop, that firing pin never broke. Whatever may be the metallurgy, I don't know. But he created a firing pin which didn't break. And I'm quite sure, as Indians, we can do much better than what is happening today. Somewhere we have got curbed. We have got into this habit, oh, China, it is cheaper, let's get it. Cheaper may not always be the best. We have given benefit to other economies by getting equipment from them. And if you are making 90% of equipment today, let's go to 100%, and we should be a hub to export. How you are going to do it? Are you going to concentrate industry at one place? Are you going to create hubs? What exactly? That the industry should decide, not the government. You come up with proposal as to what you want to do, and I'm quite sure the government will be very willing to support you to ensure that things become that much better. And that is what's going to spur the economy. After all, you are in manufacturing sector. And today, one of our banes is that manufacturing sector is not performing as well as it used to be. Now, let's look at how things are coming up. We are launching new projects in roads. Our very prestigious project from Delhi to Mumbai, Delhi, Vadodara, Mumbai, the new Greenfield project is working properly. All the sections have been given now. Have a new project that is coming up which will link Delhi to Amritsar, again a Greenfield, with the added advantage that it will touch 4 big gurdwaras, ancient gurdwaras, very important gurdwaras. And aim is that you should be able to drive from Delhi, and in 4 hours you should be in Amritsar. Look at the time saved. We are looking at linking Delhi to Dehradun. We are looking at the journey being only 3 hours. You are creating a economic highway which will run through Rajasthan, through from Haryana to Rajasthan, and Punjab will get linked into it, and it will go right through Rajasthan into Gujarat to the ports. A lot of things are happening. All this will require workforce, it will require material, it will require machines, and believe you me, if we all put our shoulders together, we can actually turn the economy. I'm a strong believer in that. You have almost 100 airports coming up in next 5 years. How good is our technology? Have we looked at it? Can we create great terminals and runways in shortest possible time? That is going to make a difference. And it is opportunity is in front of us. And mind you, the way people are willing to invest, whether it is funds outside or even our own banks, because they are very sure that infrastructure sector will give back the dividend that they are looking for. You are looking at railways who are coming down with freight corridors separate. They are looking at that freight corridors creating enough space in the present commercial corridors that exist, where they can run faster, better amenity trains on PPP ways. So it's going to change a lot of things. And moment we start looking at technology, which a lot of times you must have heard Gadkari ji speaking, how do we make our vehicles more energy efficient? How do we bring in electric traction? How do we bring in different things which do not tie you down, so that your haulage becomes cheaper? The moment the haulage becomes cheaper, your goods become much more competitive in export market. Your goods become more cheaper where the consumer is concerned. So it makes the whole scene that much better. And what I would suggest is, Sandeep ji, you said that policy changes are required. The force to change policy must come from the industry. It is you with your ideas, your equipment, your pressure to innovate and to tell the government, look here, if you do this, it will make things that much better. I'm quite sure all policies will change, because government is looking at it as to what changes can be brought in which will spur economy, which will spur growth, and which will spur exports. So if we all are into it, I'm sure 5 trillion target is not very far away. I feel that the ICIMA has got a great role to play. ICIMA has got a field which is very, very important field. And I certainly wish you all the very best. I've seen the type of subject that you're discussing in your panel. I think they're very good. I would be very happy if in bullet point form you can send me the deliberations that you have done and the type of conclusions that reached. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
DK, just for a minute. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very
Yes,
much for your encouraging words. And we are totally engaged with the government, whether it is DHI, MORTH, and trying to work together to see how we can bring in advanced technology, how we can bring in efficiency in our system and produce it here. And we are also talking to them, how do we start exporting more and more equipment to other parts of the world? And once again, thanks to you for DK, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Minister Saab. I just take the top few points that you mentioned. You said that let's take the COVID in our stride while we take care, but we must move ahead, and the drive to move ahead has to come from within us, which is a great and mindsets need to change. You mentioned, sir. To reach the road construction goal of 60 kilometers per day, you have mentioned that we need to use new technologies that bring down the cost of construction, which is a very big and strong message to the industry. You also mentioned about the need for reviewing how we do project planning using new methods to look at DPR formation and what kind of flexibility can be offered to contractors so that they can use new technologies. You talked about R&D investments, and I can tell you, sir, our industry is using R&D facilities in India, not only to design for India and build for India, but also design in India for the world. We have R&D centers in many of our manufacturers in ICIMA who are doing design work for products that are not even sold in India, but are Euro 6, for example, products sold in Europe. So that is already happening. I agree with you that we still have a long way to go. While we have, as Sandeep mentioned, 90-95% of equipment being produced in India, we still have some import content which we need to localize and which we as an industry have taken it as a challenge to move forward. You also mentioned in the new large projects that that the government has rolled out, which is definitely going to turn the economy. Main focus will be speed of construction. How do we reduce the cost of haulage? How can we use lower energy equipment going forward? And you also requested us to look at that. You basically motivated us to be the force that makes the change in policy happen by bringing things to the government. And I think the engagement that ICIMA and many of our other associations are having with the government will take us forward. I would just, on that note, on the policy note, just put in a small request to you. On the 3rd of June, Minister Gadkari ji had agreed for moving the BS4 implementation for the construction equipment vehicles by 6 months. And that notification is now right in process. It's coming close to the date of 1st of October. We request you to expedite it since the notification is not yet out. With that, I would like to first go to the Q&A session, and let me go to Mr. Deepak Shetty of JCB India. Deepak, could you unmute and please go ahead with your question?
Thanks, DK. To the Honorable Minister, sir, very heartening to hear you. I take three key mantra words from you, sir. One is to innovate, to create, and to export. And I just wanted to mention to you, sir, from our 5 factories around India, we are very pleased to report that we export to more than 110 countries around the world. And from our engineering center, and we have got almost 500 engineers in Pune. No machine is produced in the JCB world, including our facilities in USA, where the Indian engineers don't support, just reinforcing the point made by DK. And thanks to support from the government, we are setting up a brand new facility in Vadodara, which is completely devoted to export. So as a part of this industry, we are taking these steps, and I'm sure there's a lot more to do, and we'll continue our focus in that direction, sir. I had 2 questions. First is, you alluded to the rural push. So the rural infrastructure, including the rural roads, are emerging as one of the key growth drivers, along with the health and healthcare infrastructure. Are there any plans to develop packages for rural roads or the PMGSY projects, or anything to treat them as a separate focus area? We are seeing with the recent push, a lot of requirement on the rural side, and the industry would be very happy to support the government on this side. So I wanted to request your views on this. And the second question, sir, if I may, is there any movement on creating an infrastructure development fund? The banks today are somewhat reluctant to commit themselves on infra and road projects due to the long gestation period. And an infrastructure fund, we believe, would certainly help drive momentum in this particular area. Thank you.
Where the PMGSY is concerned, it's it is not linked to the Ministry of Road, Highways and Transport. It is linked with the Ministry for Rural Development, right? But there is a great need, because as you look at the villages today, the vision of the Prime Minister is that if you develop villages, people are not going to migrate that much and create all the problems that happen, because then you can create the type of jobs and other things. And where you look for betterment, the PMGSY certainly will see a push in terms of betterment, because at the moment the aim was, as a first step, to connect all the villages and to cater for the type of infrastructure which will assist the farmer and the community in carting whatever was there in the villages to the nearest point. This is going to undergo a change, and so because healthcare infrastructure is going to grow. There's a big push to the healthcare infrastructure, whether they are community health center, whether they are health and well-being hubs, whether they are hospitals. This is going to grow in a big way. And I think to that extent, this pandemic has provided us an opportunity to look at this system and further improve it. So this is another thing that will improve. Infrastructure Development Fund is in discussion, and we are looking at various means as to what can be done to ensure that there is availability of funds where infrastructure is concerned. And to quote Gadkari ji, he says there is no dearth of money where infrastructure is concerned.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. With that, I go to for the next question to Mr. Arvind Garg, who heads L&T's Construction Equipment Division. Arvind, could you please unmute and take the question?
Thank you, DK. Honorable Minister, sir, thank you very much for your very, very fine address and very, very motivating words spoken by you on what the industry can do and what the government is doing to overcome the challenges. I have one or two questions, sir. Sir, you spoke about mechanization. You spoke about doing away with the earlier practices. In this context, I have a very small suggestion, sir, which is that it is high time that the industry gets an opportunity to interact with the ministry, with the government, and a task force is constituted to look at existing practices, to benchmark ourselves with global practices, and to bring those practices into India so that we can build roads rapidly in a more cost-efficient manner, and roads which are enduring, because ultimately the longevity of the roads also would grow with better practices. As DK and others mentioned before you, most of us are today building machines in India which are truly world-class, and machines are getting exported. We ourselves in L&T have developed our own range of road-making machinery, and we have a plant here where we are building this machine and exporting them. I think the time has come when the government, under your leadership, should constitute a task force for interaction and for overhauling the existing practices for the benefit of the country. The second thing, sir, is you mentioned in one of your statements was, I noted it down, cheaper may not be the best. Now, in that context, sir, I would like to make a strong submission to you that unfortunately our public procurement systems continue to be the one where we are looking at only price as the major determinant after meeting a certain threshold. But quality is different. And therefore, I think there is also a time when the government should now begin to look at technical merit in addition to price. And the whole process of public procurement could undergo an overhaul, which would mean that appropriate quality at the appropriate price, which would also mean better equipment, better systems, better processes, and better roads and better infrastructure. So these were two submissions from my end. And a very small question at the end, sir. We are all looking at the government to fund roads, and we have been seeing that the HAM model or the The BOT model perhaps has not met with much success, and EPC perhaps will be the only way to go forward. So we would like to also understand from you as to what is in the government's mind to help scale up the growth and building of roads. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Arvind. I say that the first two things that you have said, establishment of task force, that's an excellent suggestion. We will take it forward. And the other thing that you were looking at, the thing I think that will follow from this task force, so that we can ensure that there is a close coordination between the industry and the ministry. We are quite open to it.
Thank you, sir.
You asked two things. On the one is the procurement. I am the firm opinion, and you look at a matrix which constitutes quality and price. Then only things work out, not just the price. I think this L1 system has to go and to graduate to better practices. Then only things will become better. A lot of things, and I'm quite sure we will see a change. When we will see, I can't tell you, because it is it's a policy decision which is in somebody else's field. Now, but after that, there were a lot of reservations on it. We are trying to see what exactly can be done. BOT, we still are getting a lot of takers. EPC, yes. So we are still evaluating as to what will suit us, and that's why you will find that things keep changing. At the moment, HAM is very low, BOT is there, and equivalent to that is EPC. So it will be decided by the market. I'll say that, because it is the market. Not sure what we get ultimately after filtering will be the system that may be a mixture of all this. So I'll leave it at that, and let's see how we can do things better.
Thank you very much, sir. We've seen that the government under leadership of Narendra Modi ji is a very progressive government, and we are looking forward to these changes that you spoke about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Arvind, thank you, sir. In terms, we spoke about manufacturing, spoke about R&D and infrastructure project progress. One of the key things with infrastructure and also our kind of capital equipment is financing. And as you were joining earlier today, Mr. Vyas was talking about some suggestions on that. And may I request Mr. D.K. Vyas, MD of Shrey Equipment Finance, to come online and ask his question and make his comments, please.
Hi, good afternoon, Honorable Minister, sir. Very good to hear you. I think it's more we hear you, more we get charged up and motivated. And the other day I was with in other panel with you where you spoke about 1 lakh crore of toll collection per year for next 5 years, and you are proposing to invest the whole 5 lakh crore in next 5 years in the road only. These kind of words, and today you spoke about your motivational word in terms of investment in technology, R&D. It really motivates us. And sir, this, as you rightly said, infrastructure and economy is interlinked. The road sector and construction equipment is highly interlinked, sir. I mean, if you are talking about 5 lakh crore of investment in road sector in next 5 years out of the own money, which means there is a linkage of around 20% component is equipment of that, which means we have to be ready and geared up to really see that 1 lakh crore of equipment demand is going to be created, and that will be sold by the industry to the customer, which will also generate employment and other benefits. Sir, in this regard, one or two small suggestions. One is, sir, all other sectors of infrastructure has a dedicated financial institution. Only road does not have a financial institution, like railway has, power finance corporation, etc. So road sector, if we, so one could be that we can create an infrastructure bank, a dedicated infrastructure bank, which Deepak Sethi also spoke about, and Mr. Garg also does. If we create a dedicated infrastructure bank, which will take care of this long-term funding, because banks and other NBFCs have become so risk averse in terms of giving this long-term funding. And unless we give long-term financing, road sector sustainability becomes a challenge, because then the default, etc., arises, and then people become more risk averse in terms of funding. And that's what creates a challenge in terms of funding equipment also to the customers. That is one, sir. Second, very two small suggestions, sir. One is, in our sector, since we are looking at large number of equipment growth, the depreciation rate today for road equipment is still as 15%, whereas for commercial vehicle, it is 40%. Road equipments are directly linked to infrastructure, sir. These equipments are used to create infrastructure in our country. So I think being an infrastructure focused equipment industry, maybe there's a time to relook at it and consider the higher depreciation for road equipment, or at least bring it at par with commercial vehicle. One last suggestion is that today, sir, for bidding for the road work, I think there's a limitation that people have to submit bank guarantees for whether it's a bid bond or a performance bank guarantee, etc. I think we all know, sir, because of the risk averseness of the bank and the COVID has further, made them more risk averse. So it is becoming challenge for the contractors to get the bank guarantee, and therefore the good contractors are not able to bid for the project, and the competitiveness goes out. So if we can think of some other instrument in lieu of only having bank guarantee, that will really help to grow the industry. These are the two small suggestions, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DK. Let me put a smile on your face, a better smile. The insurance sector instead of bank guarantee. Now, that would actually make things that much better. Talks are on. They've been on for the last 6 months. I think they'll pick up. And our suggestion is what happens as practices rest of the, some of the advanced countries. Insurance sector takes it. It furnishes insurance for that project. And that insurance is what counts as a guarantee. So it will, I think, make a difference where your investments are concerned. And other two suggestions are quite valid. We will take that.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. If I may then request any other GC members would like to take a question or any comments. Deepak Garg, would you like to come online? Deepak?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your encouragement as usual on innovation, R&D and exports. We are also a global company with almost 15 industrial parks across the world. One of the constraints, though we have a mandate to export from India to various countries, we do export from India to Middle East, to Africa, to neighboring countries. We still need to fight for the cost. As you said, the cost is very, very important. So it is not only for our road projects, but across the globe, we have to fight for cost. Now, when we do so, we always are stuck on the pricing of steel. And I remember some of the previous events which I attended. Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, he was trying to push the steel industry to do something for improving the price of steel for exports. And when I sit and do the costing, when we sit and do the costing to export our equipment, we stumble on steel pricing. We are not able to compete. See, for domestic market, we are still able to, because we are at the same platform, all of us sitting in ICMA. But when I go to export, we need to compete with the world. And there we get a stumbling block in terms of steel pricing. So is there a mechanism, or can we have some kind of a mechanism to have some better pricing of steel for our export requirements? That actually would give us a big thrust in terms of export. Today, our CE scale in India is still quite limited compared to other countries. So we can enhance our scale if we get some support on steel pricing, which can enhance our scale. And we, have two ways. One is we increase employment or business in India, and then have the exports as well. So we need this support. If something could be worked out with the steel, it will really help the industry in a big way.
Thank you, Deepak. Let me has actually been troubling me also for a very long time. because of the road sector. But everything which deals with steel is costly. The problem is that over a period of time, we have not graduated from the older technologies to newer technologies. And therefore, our ton amount, when you take the price, is higher. Also, if you use older technology, you use that much of more manpower. Today, when you calculate your production in steel, they look at what is the manpower being used for 1 ton. Therefore, if that is low and you have got a better technology, the steel comes out cheaper. Some people have changed. For example, JSW, they have brought down the prices. China, because USA decided that all their steel industry, which is polluting, should move out. So except for the so-called Steel Authority of USA, which is based in Pittsburgh, rest everything shifted out. They just shifted factories, and when they set up the factories, they were with newer technology, and therefore you find steel from China is coming at a much cheaper price because of the technology. You know, this change of technologies today, it is costly in the steel industry. It will take a little time, but we have to find a way of how to ensure that our goods become competitive. Anything which is using steel, whether it is you making equipment, whether it is shipbuilding, anything which is using steel, if the prices don't come down, your export worth becomes low. So this is engaging the minds. People are trying to find out what can be done, and I'm quite sure we'll find a solution to ensure that anything to do with steels, how to bring down the price. I'll give you an example. I asked Bangladesh naval chief once. I said, "Why don't you take ships from India? They're next to you. They're very good ships." Yes, sir, I agree. They're very good ships. Everything is good about it. But for your one ship, I can buy 2 ships from Korea. All because of steel. Right? So you've got a very valid point. I'm sure we will look at this much more.
Thanks, Deepak, for bringing up a very, very valid point for the industry from a perspective of steel. I think one of the key challenges with such an issue is that steel is also one of the biggest employers, and it's also a big part of our core sector. And any policy decision there has large ramifications. But I think if we can balance out the needs of one sector versus the other, I'm sure one can evolve policies that continues to force the industry to continuous improvement, adopt new technologies in a evolutionary manner so that we can bring down the cost of everything. With that, we are coming to the close of this session. I will request Mr. D.K. Vyas, convener conference panel and MD of Shrey Equipment Finance Limited, to propose a vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, General VK, for taking out time from your busy schedule. Thank you very much. And we also give our best wishes to Mr. Gadkari, sir, for his speedy recovery. Please convey on behalf of our association for his speedy recovery, sir. So thanks a lot. You know, you have been quite busy, but still in a short time, you've accepted our request and come here and address us. And your address was very motivational as an industry. I think road sector is the key driver for our industry. And let me share with you that our equipment industry, the growth for last 2 months has come back primarily because of road sector. From your industry only. So thank you very much, sir. All the work you're doing, your ministry is doing, and thank you for taking out time in addressing us and highlighting key issues about the industry, suggestions, and motivating us to do more coordination with the government for the policy changes or the suggestions, taking it to you and your assurance to take it seriously and consider on it. We'll definitely keep approaching you, sir, from time to time about our suggestions on the industry side, which will be good for the economy, for the infrastructure, and for all of us. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot once again. I'd like to also thank all the president and vice president and past presidents of the ICMA, and also thank all the participants who've been listening to us to this panel discussion. There's been great insight from the Honorable Minister, sir. And thank you to the secretary team led by Seema for organizing this very beautiful event. So thanks a lot. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. What we will do also is that we'll make a short proceeds of today's inaugural address as well, since there has been a lot of discussion points, and we'll do send them as a follow-up of this meeting. Thank you very much again, sir. And thanks, friends. If all of you can stay logged on, I will just outline the event outline for the rest of the day after a minute's break. And thank you, Minister, sir.